All right, guys, we're back here on Southeastern 16, presented by FanDuel, SEC Basketball Power Rankings, the Christmas week edition. I'm sure, Max, that means everybody will be in a very cheery mood. There will be no one upset about rankings. We're all just going to be in a very calm and excited, festive mood, Max. That's what I think.
Well, if I sound a little bit off, guys, it's because there was some mechanical issues on my flight last night. Get on the plane, get off the plane, get back on the plane, get back off the plane. Guys, I didn't land until about 5 hours ago. So, but guess what, Blake? Guess what? There's SEC basketball power rankings to discuss. The people don't care about flight delays, traveling plans. We want to talk hoops. And that's what we're here to do. That's what we're here to do.
That's what we're here to do. We appreciate you guys. The chat got started way early this morning,
Yeah.
and we appreciate you guys jumping on in. As always, hit that like button if you're in here, and you can, of course, join the membership. We'll push all that stuff here up front. Our new Legends show is out with Mother Carol, a tremendous hour of content, if I do say so myself. Yes, outstanding stuff for our members. We'll have our Southeastern 16 mailbag tomorrow, pre-Christmas edition of that. Ask us all your questions, anything you want, any sport, anything in life, all kinds of stuff we got going up here the next couple of days. And then, of course, we will slow down a bit for Christmas Eve, Christmas, and yeah, all that good stuff. All right, let's go. Power rankings. I have no idea, as always, what these were compiled. Max is the math guy here, or just the guy who inputs all the scores and lets the real mathematicians, Max, do the work. Number 16. I'm curious. I'm going to assume we have a swap here because Mississippi State's kind of been on a little bit of an upswing. So I don't think Mississippi State should be at 16 this week. Let's see if that's the case.
Well, they're not at 16, Blake. The Gamecocks are at 16. The Gamecocks sitting at 7-4 on the season, 91st in Ken Palm. They played one game this past week, Blake. It was back on Tuesday, the tough one, the road game, the rivalry against the Tigers, the fighting Brad Brownells. Not a bad result, 61-68. I believe South Carolina covered the spread on that one. Did not have their freshman kind of stand out, Eli Ellis, who really helps them out on the perimeter. Could have used it. Only shot 15% from three in that game. But Blake, you've been holding out on the Gamecocks. They haven't really had a single eye scratching poor result, but they don't have one to really move them up above anyone.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Is like I don't think South Carolina's played bad at all. And it's just maybe by virtue of being the team in the spot last year, and they've done enough to change minds so far. Meanwhile, Mississippi State's taken a step forward. I'll be honest. I'm curious to see if number 15 is who I think it is. I think that team may have an argument for 16 right now in terms of just probably being pretty disappointed in the way they're playing. So, yeah, I don't know. It's like I think it'd be interesting to see if you put South Carolina higher, but it's just they don't have that win yet, and I think that's the one thing they're lacking. Maybe that other teams do have, and so you can only do so much with close losses. So.
Yeah, I will tease a little bit here, Blake. I will tease the future 5, 4, 3, 2, and just two. So 5, 4, 3, 2. About the closest power ranking differential we've ever had. This is going to be something that the difference between 2 and the difference between 5 was the tightest I've ever seen. We've been doing
So what
these.
you're saying is number 1 was not a tight vote.
Number 1
That's
was pretty much
also what
unanimous, I believe.
I gather
Yeah.
from this. So, all right, let's
So
continue.
yep, we're going to continue on here with at 15, the lowest ranking all season for Chris Beard and the Rebels. The Rebels. Another one of those just head scratching games against NC State where the whole starting lineup gets benched basically. You have the whole entire roster getting in the game. Just it was kind of over from the start. After the first 10 minutes, it was already a 10-point deficit, and then just kind of never got back into the game there, did the Rebels.
Yeah, I don't know what to say right now. I've said it, and remember that first time we saw them go basically to the bench to start playing everybody, I said, "Uh-oh, like there's clearly something here that they're not happy about it. They're not getting what they want out of what they thought were going to be their key guys, and they are, again, now at a level where they are trying to find anything and everything they can to see who wants to play the way they want them to play." And I think, yeah, like this is not where I expected Ole Miss to be. I mean, again, we mentioned all the reasons in the summer why we thought they could certainly be one of the more fascinating teams in the league this year. But so far, like there has just been so much up and down, so much inconsistency. I mean, it's across the board. Like I don't know, Max, if you could say there's just one guy where you're like, man, everything's going perfect for that guy. No, it's really been up and down for everybody, it seems. And so I don't know, man. I mean, Elias, first game of the year, he doesn't score. And it's just like we mentioned, like there were some ups and downs with Dia. Travis Perry, we said, had struggled a bit. Then he comes out and scores 21 in this one, hits 5 threes. Maybe that's hopefully that leads to something more. But there are just way more questions about this team than we thought they'd have. And clearly, like I said, I mean, they don't have the answers right now because they're trying everything. So you're not going to blame the coaching staff or anything for a lack of trying because they are trying to figure this out. And I mean, clearly right now, man, they're trying to find the right buttons and they're not there.
Yeah, that's where like the panic comes in. You don't even know what to lean on. You don't know what the identity is. You don't know what the foundation is. Still trying to find it here, and got one game left before SEC play, and that's why you find them back here at 15. One team that maybe is starting to find their identity, Blake, showing some signs of life, are the Bulldogs of Mississippi State with a nice weekend here. You get Epps back healthy. That's a big thing. He was playing through injury. Same with Josh Hubbard, playing through injury. You get both of those guys back healthy, kind of shrink that rotation down a little bit. And, hey, you've rattled off 3 in a row. How important now was that comeback, that second half comeback against Utah, Blake, 3 games ago? You pull off that second half comeback after the letdown against San Fran, and then you beat LIU, barely, but you beat them. And then bang, you finally get that home win against a top 100 team in Memphis. Memphis isn't great, but hey, you got a 3-game win streak. It's going to be a 4-game win streak, barring an Alabama State meltdown. And you maybe have found a little bit of momentum here.
Look, as Owen says, this is what we're looking for. We're looking for the optimistic positivity for Christmas week here. All right? He says, Hail State, 2 spots closer to that number 1 spot. That's how you have to look at it, all right?
Yes.
Glass half full here, for sure. So, yeah, no, I mean, they're moving in the right direction. They put themselves in a bit of a bind early on, just with, again, some of those losses that you just were like, uh-oh, that's not good. But now, to turn around, have 3 wins in a row, and yes, we're all aware Memphis is not a great team. Right now, they're 4-7. But still, we're not going to knock Mississippi State for winning the game because they had really struggled to win these kind of games a month ago. So that's a positive step. And, yeah, I mean, they've, their start to SEC play is interesting, too. They're at Texas, then home against Oklahoma. Yeah, like I don't know. Like, there's no reason they can't win both those games. I'm not saying they will, but there's no reason they can't. So, we'll see if this becomes something more. Get a nice week off now, and maybe they can, again, be the kind of team that obviously has a long way to go to be back in the tournament picture, but be the kind of team that, as usual, is going to be tough to beat at home in SEC play, I think.
Just look at their last few losses. 3 points to San Fran, overtime to SMU, 2 points to New Mexico. It was a rough start out of the first 3 weeks of the season, but I don't know. Starting to get a little bit of a better feeling about the Bulldogs here, Blake. A little bit of a better feeling. One team that is also having a little bit of a better feeling, just getting healthy, getting the guys out there, the Aggies, Texas A&M. Not too much to go on the past 2 games, but You're not going to complain about 112 points and 118 points in back-to-back games, no matter who you're playing. The Aggies and Buckyball are flying up and down the court. They got the 12th fastest offensive tempo in the nation. They got the 25th best three-point shooting percentage as a team in the nation. It's what we expected to see from Buckyball. You didn't have those top 50 wins because you were missing some guys and you dropped the OT game to SMU. I mean, geez, they're averaging 115 points the past two games.
Yeah, I think you would even make the argument that A&M should be higher here, and the reason I'll say that is because if we're talking about a power ranking that is today, and I'm going to say that probably multiple times in the stream to remind everyone, we are not projecting ahead. We are picking power rankings for today based on how teams have played entering today. I think if you look at their last month, I mean, really, like they lose the overtime game to SMU. Other than that, I mean, like you said, they put up 118, 112, 95, 120, 109. Like, and I know some of that's against competition that I still don't think most teams are putting up that many points against those teams. They may put up 100, may put up 90s, but I don't know they're getting the 110 plus the way A&M has. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. They're one to keep an eye on here because I know the schedule's not been tough, but I still think just the way they're playing, like I keep saying, man, these offensive teams, look at what they're doing right now. You just got to score one more point than the other team, but yeah, they're putting up a lot of them. So A&M, keep an eye on the Buckyball there.
Yep. I agree, and it's not the worst setup to start SEC play, Blake. Home against LSU, which will be a great game, projected a 1-point game. On the road against Auburn, who has been, I guess, inconsistent would be a good word to say. And then home against Oklahoma. That's not the worst 3-game start to SEC play for the Aggies. All right. Speaking of Texas, we're going to stay right in state, and we're going to go with the Longhorns at 12. And I don't really think there's too much separating these two Texas schools. Like, I view them pretty close in my power rankings. You have Texas coming off of just the tune-up game against Lemoyne, beaten by 42, crushed them like you should, coming off of that. Good performance, to be honest, at UConn, only losing by 8 points, covering the spread there. You've got Voki Titus and Traore manning it down at the 5. Swain is coming along, and Blake, little pop quiz. Do you know who currently has the number 1 offensive rating in the nation? Analytically, the number 1 offensive rating in the nation. It's Texas's Cam Heide is the most efficient offensive player in the country right now, according to KenPom, with an offensive rating of 162.9. Just killing it out there on the offensive end for the Longhorns. You're at 12, Blake.
Yeah, I did have Texas higher, and I had to make sure to check my rankings. I did have them ahead of what I assume is going to be the next team, and I think it's just because, again, you're seeing – I think you're seeing them also be kind of a team, and this is where, as we always say, like, this kind of is the land of teams where you maybe are rewarding losses a little bit, and I don't mean rewarding it as though it's a win. I mean more so of, all right, let's compare and contrast here. And, the 8-point game at UConn, like, I'm just like, I mean, come on. Like, that's okay. That's a step in the right direction after you got, just walloped at home by Virginia, 9 days prior. So, yeah, this is kind of that group of teams here that I think we're going to see how they play their way into the NCAA tournament conversation. Because right now, I mean, they have the NC State win, but they just don't have anything else to support it at the moment. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of where you are. But look, I can say that about let's just transition. I'm going to assume Missouri's next because right now, Missouri has the Minnesota win, and that's it. And so I admit I voted Texas out of Missouri this week. I'm just looking at Missouri right now, and man, they've got nothing to go on here. Again, even for Texas, like they do have the NC State win, and this is where that can all change with this game today against Illinois, right? And I think that's where this is the ultimate. And remember, we said, like, based on the schedule, right? Here's the next 3 for Missouri. Illinois, a trending in the right direction Florida team, a trending in the right direction Kentucky team. They're at Ole Miss, and then things get a little up and down from there. But man, they gotta have one of these in these next 3 games because they don't have anything resume wise right now. So
Yeah, don't put too much weight into this, but it is just a little nugget to talk about. The Bart Torvik tournament cast. Only a 28% chance for Missouri to make the tournament right now. That can change very fast with one win. It can go from 28 to 78 with one win. Okay, so it's take it with just a little bit. You don't put everything into it. But Missouri, like Blake said, the resume for the tournament, it's not there right now. One team, Blake, that has to do a little bit more work for their tournament resume as well. However, they did put in some, is Oklahoma. They picked up that Oklahoma State win on a neutral floor last Saturday and then played a decent game against 338th Kansas City. After you bounce back 2 games in a row after that, really just dropped the ball against Arizona State, did not show up to play from the start. And that's an Arizona State team now who is kind of like in that Auburn territory of can beat really good teams, but can also get beat by pretty bad teams. Kind of inconsistent as Arizona State, and it's not helping Oklahoma's analytics. Blake, right now, they're 54th in KenPom.
Yeah, just quickly, Shane, I know you're asking if we're going to do the Missouri-Illinois preview. So logistically, we just could not pull it off. Max travels yesterday. I'm just now getting my voice back. And just logistically, we couldn't make it work. But, yeah, we'll see what happens in this game this evening for Missouri, as we said, a big one against the Illini. As for Oklahoma, yeah, I mean, I feel like they're a team that I'm not all the way in the way Max has been in on Oklahoma. But I see that they are – like you said, I mean, that Arizona State one, I feel like Arizona State is like just the team that we always come back to is like, what do we do with the SEC results against Arizona State? Like, what do we do with them? Everybody is just like, what's going on here? But, yeah, I mean, we're not going to really have anything to go off of with Oklahoma for a while. But, like we said, that start, these next 5 games for Oklahoma, man, this could be the 2024-25 special where they just start reeling off win after win after win. Stetson, Mississippi Valley State, Ole Miss, Mississippi State. They don't play a team against outside the state of Mississippi for like, I don't know how long, man. They're just like, we're just going to play the entire state at this point from December 29th to January 7th. Then they're at A&M after that. So, yeah, Oklahoma. Count them in as one of the more intriguing teams to start SEC play here.
Yep. I like it. I like it a lot. Into the top 10 here, Blake, into the top 10. This is where things get kind of separated into tiers. There's a little bit of grouping now that is going on. There's a little bit of a group with 9 and 8. There's a group with 7 and 6. And then I'm telling you guys, I'll pull up the actual math from weighting all of the composite rankings. 5, 4, 3, and 2 are separated by pretty much nothing. So let's get into it. Here at number 9, we've got the LSU Fighting Matt McMahon Tigers, who are coming off of just a 1-game week against Sela, 13-point win. Still figuring out that front court. You're kind of rotate. We got Robert Miller coming off the bench. Pablo Tamba still starting. PJ Carter and Ron Zipper, Blake, are still kind of on the outside looking in. Max McKinnon is still getting the lion's share of the minutes at the 2 next to Deaton Thomas. If you guys haven't been looking at Deaton Thomas's numbers, man, is he going to be right up there in the all-SEC conversations. If you were to do a non-conference all-SEC team, Blake, it would be tough to leave off Deaton Thomas here for LSU at number 9.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's been excellent, and that's why I think LSU is sitting here because they are kind of in that range of like, all right, they had the nice bounce back against SMU. They did get throttled by Texas Tech, but I mean, we'll talk about Texas Tech a bit more in a minute. But yeah, I mean, I think they just kind of have sort of wound up in the spot. And I want to feel like they've dropped a little bit, and I think it's really just they're 10-1, but it's the Texas Tech game that was kind of so one-sided, and they had not played well at Boston College and all that. But then to bounce back, so it's like you've got mixed results with LSU too, where. And let me just say this too. Like, if you look at their non-conference, it is nowhere near as bad in terms of opponent strength as some of these other SEC teams we've already talked about. Like, they've only played one team outside of like the top 280 in KenPom. Meanwhile, there are quite a few SEC teams who have played 4, 5, 6 teams in the 320 plus type range. So I think that's the one thing that if you want to push back on LSU at 9 a little bit, I could understand because they have not, again, played a just truly awful schedule. But I think it's just like that one result with Texas Tech, but was also, made up for a little bit with the SMU win. So maybe we're a little low on LSU here. But again, it's a composite ranking. I don't know where everybody else ranked them. But yeah, I think curious to see how, this first week or so of SEC play goes for LSU after they get past these next 2 games, which should be victories against Prairie View and Southern Miss.
I think what you can do, Blake, is you can group LSU in with this next team in terms of just there's a general consensus. I think people agree they're good. They are not a bad basketball team, but for some reason, this, that, or the other, you're not elite right now. Good, not elite. And that's where Auburn comes in at number 8, where, man, the inconsistency. You're coming off of a week, the big road game, Stephen Pearl against Arizona. Stephen Pearl said, this was probably a little bit too much for the squad. A lot of young guys, a lot of moving parts, a lot of gelling. This is probably putting a little bit too much on them with this non-conference schedule. Battle tested, but maybe throwing them into the fire a little bit too much. And then you bounce back with a nice little Chattanooga win. But man, another tough Saturday, 88-60. Never was really in that one against Purdue. And that's now, the last 3 really big ones, Michigan, Arizona, Purdue, have all kind of left a little bit to be desired.
Yeah, and I think that's where, again, if we're like comparing and all that, we can talk about how tough a schedule Auburn has played, and there's no question about it. And, they do still have a win over NC State. I think the St. John's win is losing luster by the day. Not that it's not a good win, but it's just, that's where, as we always say, you're rooting for the team you beat that, is a projected top-tier team. And, that's where now St. John's got 4 losses or 5 losses, whatever it is. So, yeah, and it's like performance has to matter too, and we keep saying that, I feel like, with some of these teams. I mean, who is going to sit there as an Auburn fan and tell me we should be happy about watching them lose by 28, 29, and 30, no matter who they play? Like, there's a team, remember where they were last year? Like, are you kidding me and telling me, like, maybe that's how we should feel, is that, oh, this is perfectly acceptable. Like, rank them in the top 2. No, like, I think that's where we are, right? And I think it's such a contrast from last year, and not that was ever going to be the expectation, but so I just think, like, I didn't know where they would wind up this week, but I'm not surprised, just because, again, like, the overall performance has to matter, and the fact that other than the Houston game, and that was over a month ago now, these other games against, yes, national championship contenders, I mean, it's not been pretty. So, I just think that's a little difficult there. So,
with power rankings, you can lean into different aspects. You can lean into big wins. You can lean into, well, look, they lost, but look how they performed. For me with Auburn, it's like the eye test is just kind of brutal right now. It's tough.
Salty Tiger, let me push back on this a little bit, okay? And I know things get heated when we start putting teams in places people don't agree with, but I'm going to push back on this. Alabama lost to Purdue by 7. They lost to the Zags by 10. And they did lose to Arizona by 21. But they don't have the same losses to that level. Like, I don't agree with that. But I see the point you're making. I just think that it's a little lesser for Alabama when you compare the two so far. But
yeah, just need more consistency out of the shot creation. You need a higher assist rate there for Todd Pettiford. He's got to create more offense, and then the front court has just got to tighten up some way.
Yeah, and Salty's right here too. Like, it's just that you've had some ups and downs with injuries as well.
Yeah.
And so that's gonna hurt your consistency a little bit. So.
Yep. All right. Now we enter kind of a new little 2-team tier. These two are basically inseparable in the weighted scores. At number 7. Flying up the rankings, we have the Cats. Yep, we have the Cats, and I'll just group them together because I'm telling you, there's nothing separating them. It was like a decimal point. The Cats at 7 and Georgia at 6. These two teams, you guys all, this was probably the most members votes we had, and it was 6 and 7s for Georgia and Kentucky pretty much all the way. The Cats, I mean, hey, you guys know, getting healthy. JQ's back. Got the kind of that big three of transfers of Diabate, Quaintance, and Lowe finally all playing together. Always got his confidence back. Cam Williams is being aggressive. You can feel the momentum starting to pick up for the Cats. And then Georgia, just
these two. Look at these two in the chat.
Oh
Here we go.
gosh.
Like you had to do that, Max. You had to get this started. You had to get it started. Everybody's just chiming in here. All right.
I never got it. I'm not online enough. I'm not chronically online enough to get into the 6-7 stuff. But Georgia, just flying under the radar nationally. No one talking about him. Jeremiah Wilkinson, Blue Cane, as efficient as it gets. Samto Cyril, Justin Abeson, cannon catching, Stagg. It's a deep front court. They're not shooting the ball as well as we thought they would be, but who cares when you're the number 1 2-point percentage team in the nation, Blake? Georgia, they're rolling. The Cats starting to roll. Got them here kind of just outside the top group.
Sorry, Salty Tiger. We can't ban everyone saying 6-7. We can't do that, but I'm not against the idea. All right, I'm not against the idea. Yeah, so turns out I was surprised. I'm not the person who, I guess the only one who maybe what some people will say overreacted to the Kentucky JQ return and ranked them higher. I had him only a spot higher at 6, but I was curious to see if I was going to be like the lone ranger here that wound up being the only person that had him a little bit higher. But yeah, and like you said, I think this is another one where you can use whatever criteria you want. Kentucky's obviously played a tougher schedule than Georgia has to this point, no doubt about it. And so, yes, they've accumulated more losses. Kentucky, and that's where, again, I think you're ranking it on today. It's not weighted 100% to the team that you would put on the floor right this second, but it is where are you at as a team right now, and they are clearly a different team when they have Jalen Lowe and Jaden Quaintance, but we can't put them at 1 yet because we only have 1 game sample size to have that. So far, but it looked good, and we can admit that. We did it on Saturday after the game. It looked like a different Kentucky team, and we're going to see, again, long-term, how that sort of plays out. They've got an interesting start to SEC play, too, and I want to bring that up real quick. They're at Alabama, which is a tough starter, but then they're home against Missouri, home against Mississippi State, at LSU after that. That's an interesting game because, they go to Tennessee the next game, then it's back-to-back home games against Texas and Ole Miss, so like, Kentucky's got a path here. If they were to go sneak out 1 or 2 of those road games, I mean, man, don't be surprised if they have this core group in place. If JQ and Jalen Lowe are on the floor, everybody else is there, they're all the way almost healthy. Don't be surprised if Kentucky gets off to a great start in SEC play because I think they got the schedule, the way it flows, to make that work. And then for Georgia, man, it's just, again, like performance. How am I going to sit here and knock Georgia for the performances they've had? Like, they have been terrific this season. And, again, their only blemish on the resume, 97-94 overtime loss to Clemson. Which, by the way, you talk about one of the weirdest games all season. That Clemson-Cincinnati game yesterday. Clemson's up 30-5.
5, yeah.
30-5. And it winds up being 68-65. Just a very just wild game that was. But, yeah, so I think that's kind of where you put these teams, and it's what do you value more. But like you said, there's not a lot, I think, right now that separates this kind of group of teams because we're about to get into the stuff that separates you. The first couple weeks of SEC play is where you're really going to have that separation. Before we get to top 5, Max, let's quickly tell our people about our friends at the yearly company, Nashville-based fine jewelry, built on tradition, designed for meaning. Each piece handcrafted, solid 14-karat gold, natural gemstones, Backed by a lifetime guarantee, every Yearly Company bangle is custom size. You know what that means. You got to know the size before you order, so you got to go get that sizing kit. SE16 kit for 100% off at checkout. It's a complimentary sizing kit from our friends, the Yearly Company. SE16 kit. Get your holiday shopping done now. You still got a couple days. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to be there before Christmas, but you can do your holiday shopping now. Just telling you, you can do that. It's up to you. SE16 kit over the Yearly Company. And our friends at ROKFORM, ROKFORM.com, the world's strongest magnetic phone case, extreme protection, super strong magnets, rock lock, secure mounting. Our code, SEC25, 25% off over at ROKFORM. A lot of great cases, accessories, all that good stuff. SEC25, 25% off over at ROKFORM. So, by the way, I also appreciate this from Braden here. It says, drop my Hogs to number 10 next week. Need the chip on the shoulder. Can't take the number 1 pressure. It's a lot for teams. And that's what I think, honestly, if you really think about it, why did Florida win the national championship this last year? It wasn't because they were the best team. It's because they never got ranked number 1 until after the regular season. And I think after the SEC tournament, they got to number 1. But until then, as Big Gator EJ continues to remind us, we did not put Florida at 1. Maybe that's why. We knew.
There's a lot that goes into this, folks, okay? There's a lot of moving parts.
There's a lot of reverse psychology that we use here that we absolutely can always have as a backup if we need it. A little reverse psychology.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go. Top 5.
Remember what I said. I will pull up the math after we do this. The difference between 5 and 2 is the closest I think it has ever been. Okay. So if you are mad that your team's 5, I'll just hold off, because it is as tight as a race here up at the top as I've ever seen in our power rankings. Okay. And you can disagree all you want. I kind of disagree with this a little bit. Number 5, Tennessee here at number 5. I disagree. I think Tennessee should be a spot or 2 higher, just given the past week they had. No question. No, I think I had them at 4. No question about it. Syracuse is a bad loss, and you lose 3 in a row. No matter when you lose 3 in a row to whoever, it's not ideal. But the response the past week, a 21-point destruction against Louisville. No Mikal Brown, yes, but it was the way they won. The physical domination. Louisville never looked like they had a chance in that game. Never. And then, what was the score at one time against Gardner-Webb? It was like Gardner-Webb was in the 20s, and Tennessee was about to reach 70. It was destruction. That's back-to-back games. Physical domination. I would probably have Tennessee a spot or 2 higher here, Blake.
Yeah, I think so too. And as we always say, remember, it is a composite ranking. We also weight the rankings a little bit versus our member rankings, the staff rankings, which again does go beyond just us. So yeah, like sometimes you're going to get these close calls like this. And yeah, I did. I moved Tennessee up a little bit further because, at the time we said that 3-game losing streak, you just didn't know what to do with them. And it felt like they weren't bad. They had the Houston win, couple close losses, and you're just like, what do you do? Do you drop them? And then you have to compare them against the other teams, all that. But I think the Louisville win, it wasn't just they won the game, it's how they won the game. I realized Louisville was playing without a player, but I said I didn't think it would have made a difference. Like, Tennessee was just so good defensively in that game. They look like your vintage Tennessee defensive type team. And so that automatically gives you a little bit of a bump up. And so I did. I ranked them ahead of couple other teams. And so, yeah, I think that's, I got, by the way, I don't have a problem with them at 5, but that's just kind of what we did. So,
yeah, if you want to argue them to be top 3, your basis is, look at the efficiency from Gillespie and Ament lately, and what the front court is doing now, kind of figuring out their roles now without Cade Phillips and Estrella getting healthy and banking on the big Louisville win. Sure. Can completely see it. Banking on that defense, offensive rebounding, they've got a clear identity. All right, and then another team, you could have them higher. Would not disagree with you at all, Blake. At number 4, we've got Alabama. Alabama now is a tough team to rank, I'll tell you, because man, they've got some good eye tests. The semi away against Illinois earlier in the season, then 105-72 against Maryland. Beating Clemson, beating UTSA by 40. But then you've got the bad Arizona loss. You bounce back and, you drop 104 on South Florida, but you let up 93 on South Florida. Not a bad team. And then, again, the defense not quite as tight as you would like it in the second half against Kennesaw. You're up by 30. Got a chance to just crush the analytical projection on that one and lose focus there last 15 or so minutes against Kennesaw. So for me, Alabama, man, the ceiling is as high as anyone in the league, but tough team to rank right now.
Yeah, I think that's the thing is like we've kind of moved beyond that first round of games for Alabama where they played all the tough games in a row and they went 2-2. Like that was a month ago. And now it's just kind of like, all right, you kind of have to pick and choose what you're going to value out of those. And like you said, I mean, and I know it's like, but this is where we get at this point in the rankings. Only winning by 11 against South Florida, only winning by 11 against Kennesaw, like that's where you're going to have some people move them down a little bit because you're like, well, it's been a while since I've seen Alabama, just be kind of as crisp as they were a little ways back. Like, again, think about what they were doing in Vegas after the Zags game, right? And, just beat down on UNLV and Maryland and came back with a nice win against Clemson at home. And, yeah, like it's just sort of, and we've said too, like injuries also, of course, have played a factor for Alabama all season. They've been a hard team to figure out because they just had so many injuries. And, they got Yale coming up a week from now. That's another one to sort of keep an eye on. Surprise, surprise, Yale's not bad. So, yeah, I'm not going to sit here and act like I have some definitive argument between these teams in this range because they all have blemishes to this point. They all have had some highs, but this is where we are. So,
yeah, I feel like Alabama is a team where in a few weeks, or if they went at home against the Cats and then they beat Vanderbilt at Vanderbilt or something, flying up to number one right away. With the caveat of, well, there was all those injuries. It seems like they found the rotation now. Jalil Bethea's in there. Latrell Wright's not in and out of the lineup. Aiden Holloway is not in and out of the lineup. And, we have all these kind of asterisks next to these losses where it's like, well, they didn't have this guy or it was his first game. And you can see if Alabama just clicks in a game or two against top competition immediately 2 or 1 in the rankings, just based on kind of that offensive ceiling.
Yeah.
All right, so now this is another one, 3-2. I'm telling you guys, these were just separated by absolutely nothing. I had these flipped, and a lot of people had some of these teams at 5, some of them at 2, some of them at 1. Here at 3, we've got the Gators of Florida, looking better as of late. If you've been seeing Xavier Lee lately, he's rolling, leading the team. He had 3 straight wins against all right teams, George Washington by 10, and then the back-to-back home games by 40 and by 30. Decent results, but not too much to go on because it's the opponents weren't too quality. Florida getting better though.
Well, and I think this is where if you want to talk about why we always say power rankings are totally subjective and everyone's going to kind of have different criteria because there's no set rules. This is where I think you start to see how people see teams differently. And this is where I had Florida 5 this week. And the reason why is because I said, outside of beating Miami, like Florida doesn't have a good win. And I think that was kind of my thinking was that, okay, I'm looking at the other teams. I see a few more wins like a Tennessee, like an Alabama. But you can also say, if you're taking the teams that they've lost to outside of TCU, which we all said, at the time, yeah, that's just a weird loss. But if you're taking the Arizona, Duke, UConn, right? You're like, okay, they only lost to Arizona by 6. They lost to Duke by a point in a true road game. They lost by 4 to UConn. Not a lot of other SEC teams have been that close with 3 teams like that. So, again, man, it's just we're splitting hairs here.
Yeah.
But, yes, I do think finally, it feels like Florida is almost there. They're not all the way there yet, but it feels like that Florida team that entering the season, I don't think any of us expected Florida to be what they were to end last year. I don't think I was expecting them to be that good. But now with Lee playing well, I think you can see that there is now a step there for Florida to get closer to maybe what we thought they were going to be to start the season. And, again, and it's you still got to beat good teams to do that. But I think the play, the performance, is starting to affect the rankings more, as it should, because I think we are seeing a team that's trending in the right direction. So
Yeah, and it's also like the results. They were one possession away from beating Duke
they
at
should have
Duke.
beat Duke. Let's
Should
call
have
it what
beat
it
Duke.
is. They
Yeah,
should have beaten Duke at Duke. It just
you know,
didn't happen.
4 points away from beating UConn in Madison Square Garden, Store South.
Yeah.
So, and like EJ said, a lot of teams have gotten embarrassed by Arizona. You can argue Flan just play, or Xavier Lee and Flan just play a little bit better against Arizona, and they're right there, ready to win that one as well. So,
Yeah.
it's whatever you want to lead into. I'm a little bit high. I'm admittedly high on the Gators. I like what I see out of the identity, with Chinulu. I was really that UConn game where Terrace Reed can't move Chinulu at all, and Xavier Lee starts playing better, and it's just like, man, if Florida's losing by 1 point at Duke, 4 points at MSG against UConn, how many SEC teams are doing that? I'm buying in on the Gators, but if you want to have them at 4 or 5 because they don't have the elite wins, I don't have any pushback at all for you, really.
Yeah.
All right, and then number two was our number 1 team last week. The Arkansas Razorbacks drop their big one on Saturday, Blake, to Houston. And as John Calipari said in his press conference, he said in the 2 losses, well, 3 losses now, but in the 2 losses, the game against Michigan State and the game against Duke, felt like they had chances to win. Felt like if a few plays went different or a few players played a little bit harder, they're right there ready to win that game. But Calipari said, I never felt like we were going to win this game against Houston. Their guards outplayed our guards pretty handily. Kingston Flemings, Emmanuel Sharp, Uzan, and he just said Houston just outplayed us there. But still, it's Houston on a neutral floor. You're coming off of a 9-point win against Louisville, 7-point win on a neutral against Texas Tech. That looks even better now. So you do have that disappointment against Houston in the primetime spot there, Blake, but you can't move them back too far.
Yeah. Look, $5 super chat here from Braden says, got to get Trevon going. Hard to win with one of your top guys only taking 3 shots. Love my Hawks, but you got to find some consistency in our bigs, and I think that's been the storyline all season, right? I feel like every time we've talked about them, that's always been brought up is, hey, can you find that consistency? Well, guess what? You had it in the Louisville and Texas Tech games. And so, all right, now we're feeling good. But then, you come out in a game like this. And I think this is where, it almost is a little bit, even more stings a bit, knowing that Brazil just does not play well here. And yet you're still right there, right, with a chance. You still have opportunities, but you've got a Ewan have a, positive breakthrough and those kind of things. So it's just one of those where I think that's the thing, right? It's that trio of Brazil, Pringle, and Ewan. Every single game, we're going to look at that. And, we're going to sit here and be like, all right, this is kind of a situation where, man, this game's going to come down to those 3 guys. And what you get combined between those 3 is going to be huge. And, you mentioned it too. Thomas, not best game. And I think, that's something else too that's not ideal in terms of looking at his production the last several games. Has struggled a little bit in terms of just finding his groove offensively. And so, yeah, all these things that, again, we can pick on a lot of teams for many different things right now. I mean, we can pick on something about every single SEC team to this point. But the thing Arkansas still has going for it is that it's beating Louisville and it's beating Texas Tech. And you remember the point I made earlier about you're rooting for the teams you've beaten. Texas Tech getting a win over Duke helps Arkansas in a big way, and that is a huge, huge thing to have once you get closer to when the seeding starts to really come into play and all that kind of stuff. But I think as a whole, unless Arkansas loses to James Madison next Monday, I still think you're going to come out of this non-conference feeling pretty good if you're Arkansas and feeling like you are a top contender to win the SEC this year. And what better chance to kind of start things off and prove it than at home against Tennessee, to get things started. Because remember how you want to talk about Remember how it went last year when they started SEC play against Tennessee? All of a sudden, we all went, uh-oh, this ain't going to be good. This could be a rough stretch for Arkansas, and they started 0-5 when they went to Tennessee and put up 52 points last year. But this is a different team. They got a different vibe to them, and even in a loss to Houston, I don't know, you can't knock Arkansas. So I didn't think they would drop any lower than this, but if they would have, Max, I would have had to make an executive decision here to move the Hogs up because I don't think they should have dropped any lower than 2. So
I mean, I dropped them to 3. I had them at 3,
right.
but barely, barely.
No.
The only pushback is like the analytics don't have Arkansas higher than these other teams. That's it. But because when you're trying to split hairs with the rankings, Jim, I'm leaning on everything. The reason why I'm not worried and why I said it time after time on the primetime stream on Saturday was I trust Malik Thomas is going to get it going, Blake. I mean, we saw this guy's talent at Michigan State, and throwing into the fire, 30 minutes, 16 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 turnovers. He's active in there everywhere. Just going through a little bit of a tough patch here, and they need his offense to help out. You're putting DJ Wagner in a little bit too much of a perimeter offense situation. That's got to be Thomas's role, and I have no concern over it. I think he's going to get it figured out, and that's why I'm not worried about Arkansas.
No.
But we have some discourse in the chat, of course.
Surprise.
Surprise?
Go ahead and just put up number 1 here. So, and by the
The
way,
Commodores.
it seems like some people have forgotten Vanderbilt has been ranked 1 before this year. Some people are saying it's the first time we've ever ranked Vanderbilt 1. That's not true. They were ranked number 1 a couple weeks ago or 3 weeks ago or something. And boy, I don't remember the backlash then when certain teams were not playing as well and people didn't seem to care as much that Vanderbilt was number 1. But now there seems to be a little bit of backlash on the Commodores here. All right, so we know it's the same story every week.
Yep.
And I'm just going to bring this up right here. We're not about the metrics. It's a composite ranking. But they are the highest-ranked SEC team in every single advanced metric out there. They are the highest-ranked SEC team this week in our power rankings. And, Max, I'm going to let you pull something around on the screen to tell us exactly why they are the number 1 team this week.
Oh, you want the math from the composite ranking?
I would like the math. This may be a Chat GPT decision here.
It is.
But,
yep.
So
look at the top 5 there and the weighted score. So how we weight it is Blake and I's staff and then the rest of the S16 staff weighted 1/3 more than your guys' composite ranking. And after you guys, I think it was 7 admissions this week. It was the most we've had. And so there's a lot of rankings that went into this and the weighted score, but Arkansas's weighted score is 3.43. Tennessee's at 5 is 3.72. I'm telling you, I've never seen anything like this. It was the tightest grouping I've ever seen.
All right. So let's pull up some chats here because this is the time where we have some fun. Okay. So, by the way, Braden, you can submit votes if you're an MVP or legend. You have to be the MVP or Legends tier to be part of the composite power ranking vote. So that is how you submit it. And you go to the community post. We put it up every Sunday, so you get to submit your rankings and all that. All right, so I'm going to pull this one up first because I think this is the most important one when we talk about the rankings here. And let me see where it's at. We're going to get back to a question Alan had earlier as well about the SEC and the NCAA tournament. Here's the question. I have the same for everybody. Okay. How many people watched Vanderbilt and Wake Forest yesterday? Now it's truthful. It's Christmas. Okay. It's Christmas. Let's be truthful here. Raise your hand in the comments if you watched the entire Vanderbilt shellacking of Wake Forest yesterday on the road, 98-67. A Wake Forest team who's played Michigan, the number 1 team in the country, as close as anybody this year in an overtime game, 85-84. Now, let me know in the chat. Raise your hand, little emoji. They have the little hand raises. Let me know if you watched that game yesterday. Because then we're going to have a discourse with those people for a second. Because, Max, let's talk about that performance for a minute. After the game against Memphis, again, that was the one where a lot of people were really rooting for Vanderbilt's demise. But they looked terrible in that game. They didn't look like the number 1 team, the number 2 team, the number 3 team, the number 8. They looked bad. Didn't play well. Found a way to win in overtime. And we said, my goodness, if they don't fix the turnover stuff, we may drop Vanderbilt to 16 next week. Just kidding. We weren't going to do that. Some people are still not impressed that they went to Wake Forest and won by 31. Well, then here's what I'll say to that. You're never going to change your mind. Like, Vanderbilt could have beaten Duke yesterday by 20. It wouldn't change your mind. You can say it would. It wouldn't. Let's call it what it is. But the thing is, like, you saw them have what I thought was probably their worst game of the season, and then bounce back and go on the road without a player. Frankie Collins didn't play.
Mm-hmm.
Where they're up, I mean, I don't know what they were up at one point. It was like 34, 35, something like that in the second half. And, like, that was, to me, is the kind of thing where if you're going to see this team, once we get to SEC play, if you're going to see a team be an SEC title contender, which is, I mean, they're 12-0 right now. Everybody can talk about how their team doesn't have a bad loss, and that's fine. Vanderbilt doesn't have a loss, period. So you can tell me all you want about bad losses. This team hadn't, I don't care. They haven't lost a game. So I just think, like, the way they bounce back, the mental approach to coming off a bad game like that, bouncing back, they're now a top 15 team in the country in offense and defense, which I think the defensive part's a little surprising. Yeah, so that's kind of where we are. So,
in KenPom's Player of the Year rankings, Duke Miles is currently rated number 9 in KenPom's Player of the Year ranking. Number 9. Duke Miles is currently, statistically, a top 10 player in the nation. Here's my take on if you don't agree with Vanderbilt at number 1. You don't know what you're talking about. Okay, that's my take. All right. Every single analytics site has Vanderbilt number 1 in the SEC. Okay, every single one has Vanderbilt number 1.
By the way, please do not cite the AP poll. If you cite the AP poll, we have to immediately throw out your opinion here. The AP poll does not matter. It has no value whatsoever when it comes to actually ranking teams as a power ranking. So let's not use the AP poll as an excuse. Please don't. Please don't do it. Please. That's all I ask.
Okay, so every single analytics site, every data point you could create has Vanderbilt number 1. Okay? And if you don't like analytics, then okay, watch the games. Watch them struggle against Memphis on the road, turn the ball over a million times, and then have Mark Byington get pissed as heck after the game, and then watch him come back and win by 31 at Wake Forest. I went 10 years back in Wake Forest's schedule to see when the last time they lost by 30 at home. I went 10 years, couldn't find one. I'm like, I'm not going back through Wake Forest's entire history. I don't know the last time they lost by 30 at home. It's been at least a decade. It's a tough place to play. Steve Forbes is a good coach. They broke records. They broke regular season records against St. Mary's. Okay, so if you don't think Vanderbilt is number 1 right now, you either have not watched them play, or you just don't care about analytics. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. You just don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, just a reminder. It is a power ranking for December 22nd. We are not power ranking 5 weeks into SEC play.
No.
Believe it or not, we can't see the future. Go watch our prediction videos to figure that out. But
yeah, David, analytics don't win games. Players do, and they've won 12 of them, and they've lost 0.
We've got more here. Hold on a second. So, as of right now, Vanderbilt has more Quad 1 wins than any team in the SEC. They have 6 combined Quad 1 and Quad 2 wins, which is 2 more than any team in the SEC. Vanderbilt's strength of schedule right now in KenPom, for all they hadn't played anybody, folks out there. By the way, it's Christmas. We're trying to be nice here, but you guys don't want to be nice to us. We got some insults in the chat. That's okay. We're talking sports here. It's all right. We'll allow it. Strength of schedule, SEC-wise. Here we go. Alabama is at 2 in KenPom right now, so there's 1. Auburn is at 12. Again, the Tigers are playing a tough schedule. Florida is at 26, so note that. Oh, we're still going. We are still going. Boy, some of these schedules. Mississippi State is at 67, so there's your 4th SEC team. Oh boy, this isn't gonna go over well. Arkansas is at 69. Nice.
All right.
Vanderbilt is at 71. All right, well, we've gotten to Vanderbilt. So
There you go.
there you have it. They are 71 in the strength of schedule right now, according to KenPom. So, I mean, that's not bad. I don't think that's bad. But we all have said many times, and I think some of you are arguing the point. Some of y'all are arguing the point that Vanderbilt has played nobody. We understand, and we say every week, they've not played a top 10 team so far. Well aware of that. Not played, what would you maybe even consider a top 20 type team so far.
Sure.
But the performance has to matter. Like, the performance has to matter right now, and you're doing a power ranking. We're not projecting ahead. I'm not telling you they're going to be number 1 in SEC play.
Oh.
But right now, they have every argument statistically and performance-wise going in their path to be number 1. And it's just as simple as that. And you can disagree because, again, it's a power ranking. But unfortunately, it was a consensus vote this week, and everybody was number 1 on Vanderbilt. So there you have it. Will they finish number 1 in SEC play? I don't know because this isn't a prediction. It's a ranking. So there you have it. Commodores are 1.
Blake's nicer than I am. Blake is nicer than I am.
It's Christmas week, Max. We love our chat. Our chat is the reason why this show is what it is.
That is
because
true.
it'd be kind of boring if everyone just showed up and said, hey, you guys are right all the time. We're not. As Sam says, this channel's so bad. I mean, let's call it what it is. So we appreciate Sam, legend here at Southeastern 16. All right. There are your rankings for Christmas week. SEC basketball. The schedule this week. And by the way, I'm going to give you some updated odds over at FanDuel before we get to that. Updated odds to win the SEC over at our friends at FanDuel. Uh-oh. Earmuffs. Vanderbilt plus 280. Alabama's plus 350. Florida plus 390. Tennessee plus 800. What the hell are we doing with Arkansas?
Wait,
Kentucky
so are you
plus
saying
800.
Are you saying that Vanderbilt is number 1 on every analytics site and number 1 in Vegas?
Well, that's a bet I would not make. I'm going to be honest with you.
Interesting, though. Interesting.
That's,
Almost
I would
like
not make
every
that
single
bet
place in the world has Vanderbilt number 1 right now.
because I would not make the bet, Max, because I think I want better odds. Because once they lose a game, the overreaction I think is going to be that number is going to drop. So if I'm looking at it, remember, bet responsibly. If I'm looking at it from a betting standpoint, I'm waiting on that because they're not going to go 36-0 or whatever how many games they play. Arkansas still at plus 1,100, which I don't know what's going on there. Like, we've tried to figure this out. Arkansas was at plus 1,700, I think, last week when we did this, so at least they made a positive step here. But I think the best value on the board in terms of SEC conference winner at FanDuel is Arkansas at plus 1,100. That's just way too far back for our number 2 team this week and our number 1 team last week.
Yeah.
So way too low. Way too low. Your updated national championship odds for SEC teams. Florida, at least we got somebody in the top 9 right now. Florida's up to plus 2,000, so you're seeing some market correction on the Gators. They're buying into the fact that Florida's moving on the way up. So there's something to note. Vanderbilt's at plus 2,500, so 25-1 for the Commodores. Alabama 30-1, Arkansas 35-1. Kentucky's jumped up to 35-1. Tennessee's at 35-1. So there's your, if you want to take a shot on one of those in the 30-plus range. Alabama, Arkansas, Kentucky, Tennessee. Not a bad group there. If you want to take a shot at one of these national championship type seasons for one of these teams. So, so they're your updated odds over at FanDuel, by the way. So,
oh yeah, there's a buy low on the Gators. Might have even missed that window. Might have even missed that already, Blake. Might have missed that.
I think the window's been missed on the Gators because I feel like they're starting to see some positive vibes here. All right, your schedule for tonight. Georgia hosts West Georgia, 35.5-point favorite of the Bulldogs. South Carolina hosts South Carolina State, 31.5 on that one. LSU Prairie View, 31.5. Missouri, Illinois. Shane was running down the fact that we've not done a Missouri prediction video this year. I will say, Shane, I think the reason for that is both these games have been pretty sizable spreads, both Kansas and Illinois. So I understand. I think you went through and did the stats on how many we've done each team. A lot of the reason for that is just because they were very close spreads. And those games are usually ones that are pretty. But you know what, Shane? If we get some time here in a little while, we may do Illinois, Missouri just for you. We may do it. Who knows? So I'm just telling you, Illinois is a 9.5-point favorite. Texas and Maryland Eastern Shore, 33.5 are the Longhorns and 32.5 for Oklahoma against Stetson. So it is 30+.5-point nights for everybody but Missouri and Illinois, which is almost a double-digit spread at 9.5. So there you have it for tonight's slate. So
it's hard to do previews for games that have spreads that are like 10-ish, 10 plus, because then the previews just kind of like, all right, is there a path to victory here? Are you going to take a stab at a plus 350 underdog?
Yeah,
probably not. It's just it's tough to, find angles.
Yeah. All right. Sean just absolutely said, I'm not holding back on these previews.
Sean's been great all day today. Sean's been good in the chat.
The chat's been very excited. It's a good thing when you have a lot of back and forth. That's what we appreciate. So, all right, let's get to a couple more things before we get out. Hey, AJ, by the way, I'm going to bring this up. It says keep that same energy a few weeks in SEC play. We absolutely will.
Yep.
Like, go back and watch our stuff. Like, go back the last couple of years. Like, when Vanderbilt starts struggling, we'll tell you. Just right now, I mean, we're not going to sit here and lie and act like they're a bad team. They're not. All right. Alan said we got 10 or 11 SEC teams projected in the tournament now. That seems high. But is he right?
I think we can get 10. I'm starting to feel 10. I think we can get 10.
A lot of this is going to depend on LSU and Georgia, in my opinion.
Well, I think we have I think Georgia's in.
I mean, their best win Cincinnati. That's the only issue for Georgia right now.
I know, it's just their analytics are so high.
Hold on, let me pull up Georgia in the net, which, by the way, I'm not a net guy. But, I mean, yeah, like 10 of 11, 10 of Georgia's, all 10 of their wins have come in quad 3 or quad 4.
Yeah.
And I think
what's their net?
They've only played one game in quad 1 or quad 2. Like one combined. And they're 20th in the net, but you know why they're 20th in the net? Because they're winning by a sizable amount.
Right.
So, yeah. I mean, they're in right now. Don't be wrong, Robert. Like, absolutely they'd be in right now. We are kind of playing project ahead a little bit here. And that's where I'm like, I need them to pick up good wins. Because having all your wins in quad 3 and quad 4 is not going to cut it. But luckily, every game they're going to play past the next 2 will start to qualify in the first couple, you would think. So,
to be honest, I don't agree with it. But Torvik has Auburn at only a 51% chance of making the tournament. They're 1-4 in quad 1. What are they in? What's Auburn in the net?
Does seem low. They are. Let's see. Hold on. Auburn. Yeah, they're 43. But I mean, they're 1-5 in quad 1, which is. Let's see. Let me look at it here. So Alabama, Kentucky, Arkansas, Auburn. Yeah, so they are the teams that have all played 5 quad 1 games. It's just that Auburn is Kentucky's 1-4 too. Like Alabama has 2, Tennessee has 2, but they've only played 4. Arkansas has 2 wins. Yeah, so Auburn's kind of in that middle ground right now.
Yeah, I mean they're 41st on Bart Torvik, in the 40s in the net. Only have 1 quad 1 win. It doesn't feel like Auburn only has a 50-50 shot of making the tournament. I'd say they got a little bit better, but when you just look at the pure raw numbers, that type of resume kind of does project to mid 40s is usually bubble talk. But I don't.
Yeah.
I think that's low. I think that's low.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. I think that's all we got here. I think we're gonna hop off. We appreciate. Look, even the Dance King. The Dance King's been pushing back on us all day, but when you're the Dance King, you can
You
say what
dance.
you want. All right. Dance King says, "Love you guys. Just don't agree about Vandy. You guys are the best." We appreciate that. Yeah. Like we don't have to agree. Sometimes
No.
I like it when we don't agree. More. I appreciate that. Like, give us some insight. Makes it fun. All right. What else we got here? We did have some nice things.
The part that gets me, Blake, is when people say, "No, I haven't watched them. No, I don't care about analytics. No, I don't care about stats. They're just not good, and I don't care." It's like, well, come on,
Come on.
give me something here.
Come on. Give us something better than that. All right. Let's see what else we got here. Everybody's complimenting Max's lamp, by the way.
Yeah,
Let's
Yep.
see.
Red Ryder BB gun, baby.
Oh, boy. All right. Let's see what else we've got here. There was a couple other chats that I missed that I just did not. Big Baller Brett's right. No matter what happens, by the way, get ready for the power rankings after the first. So let's see. So that's going to fall on, so January 3rd is first SEC game. So January 5th will be our power rankings. Can you imagine
Oh my
the
gosh.
amount of movement we're going to see for some of these teams? Like, I mean, come on. I'm just going to throw it out there. If Vanderbilt loses to South Carolina on January 3rd, there may be some people dropping them to 14. Won't
If
be
they
me.
lose to South Carolina, I will be all over them, and I will drop them in my rankings. I will overreact in the other direction 100%.
Oh, we're overreacting to everything. That first slate of SEC games, I don't care who's playing. We are overreacting. That set of power rankings on January 5th will be the least reliable power rankings of the year because it's all going to be overreaction city, folks. It doesn't matter what happens in the first. We are overreacting to every result. So don't be surprised if every winner gets put in the top 8 and every loser gets put in the bottom 8. That may be what we wind up doing with our ranking. All right. We appreciate Holly, all the nice words, of course. Always appreciate the interaction with you guys. Shout out to Braden. Yes, hope everyone has a great Christmas. If you're not going to hop in, we are going to do a show tomorrow morning. After that, everything. We are going to do our members show as well tomorrow morning. The mailbag, all that good stuff. As Michael says, I had a bad feeling. Once Arkansas got to number 1, you knew it was over. Sorry, Mike. We couldn't control that. We couldn't control it. Sam, of course, bringing the holiday cheer as always.
Thanks, Sam.
Appreciate that, Sam. Always nice words from you. Yes, always. Blake Barr, you keep asking. Sam, we were going to do it last week, but I lost my voice. So we couldn't do it. I don't know if we'll get to it this week either. It's a holiday week. We're going to try our best, but everybody's traveling and all that, so we'll see. All right, Shane, we're going to do it. I'm making the executive decision right now. We're going to do a nice little 10-minute preview for you. Illinois, Missouri, Max and I are going to do it. Making a call on the spot. It's Christmas week. We're in the giving mood. We'll do it. Shane, I'm not saying you're going to like our pick, but we're going to do it. Okay? Like, come on. That's what we do here. We're men of the people. So we'll knock it out. Shane, we'll get it up here in the next little bit. How about that? That's our holiday gift to you. All right.
Catch
You guys
this
are the
from
best.
Chris. Comment of the show. Brasile.
Must be Italian. Yeah. There you go. That was the number one comment right there.
That was it
of
right
the entire
there.
show. We had a lot of them.
Must be Italian.
But there you have it. So, all right. Yes. Merry Christmas to everyone. We appreciate all of you guys out there. And
Merry
we'll be
Christmas.
back tomorrow with a reaction show. So you come say Merry Christmas again tomorrow.
Yep.
And actually mean it this time. Don't just say it. Mean it. All right.
Should we have a Christmas carol ready tomorrow, Blake?
Should we? Should we do maybe a Chat GPT Christmas carol tomorrow?
Christmas
Maybe.
carol? Yeah.
We might throw some chat in there too. We might just throw in a few Dance King, Sam, Big Gator EJ, Mother Carol. Get a real good Christmas story. Maybe our own Christmas story. Maybe we'll build that out tomorrow here on the show.
There it is.
How about
There
that?
it is. There it is.
All right. Appreciate you guys. We'll talk to you soon here in Southeastern 16. Oh, by the way, bowl predictions coming up today. So, not bowl predictions, playoff predictions coming up today. So, check those out on the channel. All right. Appreciate you. Talk to you soon here at Southeastern 16, presented by FanDuel.